I'm in Hawaii right now, can you believe it? And I actually went mountain biking today. I'm super excited to show you that. On Navala. Oh, this is awesome, let's go! And as a lot of you probably don't know who haven't been around since the channel started, I started my mountain bike journey on a Trek bike. And back then, I thought they were pretty decent price for what you got. But as time progressed, Trek bikes just started to feel more and more not worth it in my opinion. Now as time has passed and other mountain bike companies like Polygon and even Walmart have come to the budget consumer's rescue, Trek bikes are just kind of getting out of control in my opinion. And it's starting to make me think Trek is focusing more on the high-end customer rather than the everyday rider, which if that's the business model, I can't blame them. That's the way they run their business. But me starting my journey talking about Trek bikes and how the Marlins were such a good deal for what you got, and seeing where they are now with, you got the Checkpoint, or not the Checkpoint, the Checkmate, almost $10,000. The carbon one, or I can't remember which model, it is $10,000. And I actually rode a Trek Domani E Plus, I think it is, and that's about $7,500. And as you can see on my channel, I've never bought a Trek full suspension bike because they're just too expensive. Trek mountain bikes, as far as full suspensions go, in my opinion, are just out of control. You could get way more for your money elsewhere for the same parts that you can on the Trek full suspensions. And I just feel like Trek is done with the everyday rider and focusing more on the high-end rider. That's just my opinion, because looking at the bikes they're coming out with, looking at the prices, that's just what it's looking like to me with my own eyes. Let me know what you think down below, because if you look at the Trek Marlin, who would have ever thought a Trek Marlin would be $1,400? I mean, you got a Trek Marlin for $1,400, and then you got the Roscoe 7 that's what, $100 or $200 more than that. So they price these bikes so close to each other while still giving you, I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain it. Like the Marlin, you don't get near as much with the Marlin as you do with the Trek Roscoe, but it's only $100 to $200 more. So that discrepancy is just too wide in the parts for the price to be so similar. And it just don't make no sense to me, because in my opinion, I don't think you get any more benefits from buying a Marlin than you would a Roscoe. Yeah, those are two different bikes, but at the end of the day, they probably gonna serve the same purpose for the most part when it comes to somebody spending over $1,000 for a mountain bike. Now that Trek Domani E Plus I rode, it was an awesome bike and I loved riding it. It took me all through the city of Maui, or is this the island of Maui, I should say. I think I'm in Wailea. So it took me all through the island of Maui, through Wailea and Kihei, I think that's how you say it. These words are so hard to pronounce around here if you've never heard them before. But it was awesome. But for $7,500, I mean, it is an e-bike, it is all carbon, but still, man, that Trek tag, that Trek name on the side of the bike, I guess that's an automatic markup. And it just hurts me and it pains me to say it, because I started my channel talking about Trek bikes. And for me to not have any interest in buying a Trek bike at this point, I think a lot of you probably saw the Trek Roscoe 8 that I rode at Trek headquarters on their trails. That was a pretty good bike. But after I rode it on the actual trails, I like my Trek Roscoe 9 a lot better. And it just felt kind of like a letdown, if I'm being honest. I didn't think that Shimano Dior drivetrain would bother me as much, but with my Trek Roscoe 9 having the Shimano XT and then going to the Shimano Dior, and it's kind of around the same price. I think it's about $300 more for the Roscoe 9, which is not available anymore. I would have rather them just added a couple $100 more and put that XT on there, because if you're riding in a place like Wisconsin or a cross country style place like that, and you just railing through gears and stuff, you're gonna notice a difference. And I always say the drivetrain really doesn't matter all that much to me because I live in Colorado, so you don't really smash through gears like that. But when you're going up and down through gears, it really makes a difference, and you could tell a big difference between XT and Dior. But back to these prices. So you got the $7,500 e-bike, which, I mean, it's an e-bike. You could charge a little extra, whatever. But you got the Checkmate, or no, all these checks are confusing me. The Checkout. I think you got the Checkout. So you got the Checkout, a full suspension gravel bike. And I'm like, how many people want a full suspension gravel bike? It's just not making really that much sense to me what Trek got going on right now. These prices are all over the board. The bikes are so similar. I feel like they're trying to do too much. They're trying to make different bikes, get innovative, but at the same time, it comes to a point where it's just a bike. How innovative can you get with a bike without putting a motor on it, a stronger motor or something? I just don't get it. Or making the bike ride itself. Now, this is my opinion. I'm no business expert or anything like that. But I think Trek is at the point now where they're focusing more on that higher end customer, hoping that they can get some sales off that name, push some stuff that normal people normally wouldn't buy, but because it says Trek on it and it's somewhat innovative, they're banking on people buying that. They're really just throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. And this is just my opinion, because the way the bikes are priced and the models you get to choose from, the lineup, none of it really makes sense in my opinion. And it's just a lot of bikes meshed together with little incremental differences. And they've got so much money probably that they can do stuff like this where we can flood the market with all kind of bikes and see what sticks. Let's try to put a full suspension on a gravel bike. And I love mountain biking on my gravel bike, but doing it with the full suspension, at that point, it takes the fun out of doing it on the gravel bike. Because the fun to me is riding that rigid gravel bike down a mountain bike trail with wider tires on it or something. That's the thing. If I want a little bit more cushion with my ride on my gravel bike, I'll just put bigger tires on it if I can. Go tubeless, try to lower the tire pressure. Like my Breezer Red RX Pro, I got 2.4 inch tires on it and it's tubeless, so I can run the tire pressure I want and still get that extra comfort without having to try to put a suspension on it, because at that point, you should just ride a mountain bike. But I don't know what's going on with Trek. All this stuff is just, it's baffling me, especially the full suspension gravel bike thing pushing upwards of $10,000. Then you got the Marlins pushing $1,400, $1,500. And then you got the Roscoe where they give you a lot, but just not enough at that price point to make it a legit $2,500 bike or $2,400, whatever it is. Because if you're selling a $2,400, $2,500 hardtail, you better make everything on that bike ready to go where people feel they got their money's worth. And with that Dior drivetrain, I said I didn't have any issues with it, but after riding trails like I did at Trek Trails, smashing through gears, you can really see the difference between Dior and XT. And nothing wrong with the Dior, but like I said, when you're smashing through gears like that and you really need those gears to work and be responsive, that XT is definitely worth a little extra money over that Dior. But let me know what you think. I want to know what you think about this whole Trek thing. I mountain biked out here in Hawaii. It was super awesome. I rode the Santa Cruz Vala, so that'll be interesting for you to see. I can't wait to show you that. These trails out here are a little different. The ground is super soft, so it'll be interesting to see what you think about me riding these trails. I loved them, but it was definitely a different experience than what I'm used to. I'm used to dry, washed out stuff where you sliding everywhere, but not when the ground is soft. So when you hit the brakes and you dig in, the tire actually goes into the dirt. It doesn't stay on the surface. You dig into the dirt and then you slide. It's so weird. But I just wanted to throw this video out before I put the other ones out, because I've been seeing some stuff about Trek, these prices, or not about Trek, but I've been seeing some new bikes that are coming out with these prices are just kind of crazy to me. And I just want to hear your opinion about what's going on. What has happened to Trek where they completely went off the rails and nobody can afford these bikes anymore?